piece by piece or piece by piece? Which is it? Is it both? Is it something we have to make up? Let's see. So I always want to remind you, and it happened all during the service now, I love this, that we're fully divine, that's what we are, and we're fully human. And there we have baby Jesus acting out, being both human and divine. And are we that way? You know, well, one of the things I'm glad that I found in Unity is we are originally good. No, we are originally great. We're not bad. We're not sinners. We're humans having a human experience. So by the term mind, that's one of the definitions of God in Unity. We mean God, the universal principle, which includes all principles and laws. Well, that sounds really technical, doesn't it? And while in a way, it's a little more specific than calling God mind or even God, we can even get more specific. And it's the details that help us to be the very best we can be. I often define unity as a spiritual philosophy that I use to be a better me and to help you to be a better you. Pretty simple, isn't it? But it's in the details that we want to dive. So when we say God is the universal principle which contains all principles, one of the principles is the very principle of peace. That principle of peace is already within you. It's not something you have to find. It's not something you have to make up. The principle of peace is right at the point of view. One of our great writers, Eric Butterworth, once said, God is spirit, present in its entirety at every point in space, all at the same time. God is spirit, present in its entirety at every point in space at the same time. Think about that for a moment. The entirety of this thing we call God is right there at the point of you. It is your divinity. There's nothing you can do to get more of it. There's nothing you can do to get less of it. Innate. Inherent, not inherited, like we've been told in our traditional religions. We inherited something from God. No, we are inherently it. Isn't that great news? It's innate. So, I am the peace I want to see. Say that with me. I am the peace I want to see. Or you could say, I am the peace I want to be. So it's ironic, isn't it? That we are this principle of peace, and yet we've got to take some sort of action to bring it from the inside out. So peace, a state of tranquility or quiet. Got to push the right button, Paul. Equanimity, evenness of mind, especially under what? Under stress. Do you have evenness of mind under stress? We got one going, oh, hell no. However, the potential's there, and it's not bad if we go to a place that isn't even of mind. It's just a little visit we're taking. Equanimity, mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. That's quite an aspiration, isn't it? Do you have moments you do that? Yes? Yeah. Yes. And if you have moments of it, you can string them along piece by piece by piece. So, when Ken asked me to come here, there was a lot going on. And there may be more going on now. So I feel like I know what we need is a reminder of some of the tools that we can use to have that equanimity. So, peace as a state of tranquility or quiet. Are we doing this again? Oh, yes, we are. I went backwards. So, foundational things for peace of mind. What are some of those foundational things we can do? Meditation. Yes. Now, look, I don't care what kind of meditation you do. Do one. Do it regularly. Make it part of your daily experience. We live in a magnificent age. You can go online and you can hear guided meditations. You can be taught how to do mindfulness meditation. It's amazing. We have resources at the tips of our fingers that we didn't even have 20 years ago. In other words, we have no reason to gripe because we have the tools. Chanting. How many of you chant? Yeah. Some enchanting evening, right? Walks, especially in nature. Do you do that here? Yes. Do you go up to the redwoods and walk around? Or do you just go to Golden Gate Park? Nature is so amazing. And why is it so amazing? Because you and I are nature. You and I are nature. Sometimes we talk as if, as human beings, we're not nature. We are living examples of nature. Prayer. So this one. You know where the song was saying, fade into God? For me, prayer is that time when I synchronize my humanity with my divinity. I synchronize my humanity with my divinity. Because sometimes running around during the day, I get a little bit out of sync. Do you do that? Get a little out? Yep. And prayer is a very active way I can reestablish myself in my divinity. And you're going to see why. Dancing. One of my favorites. Music. The music ministry here is, yes. This is one of the places I go where I know the music will be so good that if I fall on my face, you'll leave here inspired because of the music. Yeah. And talk about peace of mind. I'm sitting here just enjoying the music instead of going over, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Right? So, one of the errors that we have been taught as we've been raised in the culture we live in is that we live from the outside in. That results in us manifesting a victim consciousness. We feel like we are victims of the world we see because we're told that. How many times have you seen a reporter stick a microphone in somebody's face and said, how did that make you feel? That is metaphysical malpractice, my friends. There is not a single thing that can make you think or feel anything despite your experience. Now, that's a very freeing thought. There is no person, no thing, no situation, no event that makes Paul Hasselbeck think or feel anything. Is that true of you? Hope so. Because one of the amazing things about this teaching is it's about radical self-responsibility. I'm responsible for my thoughts. I'm responsible for my feelings. I'm responsible for my actions. Not you, not anybody else. And we are living in a time of politics that really reinforces this idea that we live from the outside in. So, what's the truth? We live from the inside out. When we can ground ourselves in our divinity and supercharge our humanity, we become the victors of our lives. We become living expressions of verity consciousness. We become living expressions of what we call truth. These divine ideas, these principles, these laws that we can use to be the best we can be. So I'm going to get you into some techniques now. You have the foundation, okay? So what can we do in the face of problems? What can we do in the face of stress? Well, there's this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. It's actually a mindfulness practice. It focuses on the body. Why? Because your body can only be in the present. My body is only in the present. Say it. My body is only in the present. So when you're aware of your rerunning stuff that happened yesterday from the past and you're getting wrapped up in stuff, ground yourself in the present. Or if you're worrying about what's happening tomorrow or the next day or this person is saying or that person is doing, you need to ground yourself back in the present. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, while our thoughts and feelings can feel like they're in the past or the future, they can never be. I remember being with spiritual teachers and they'd say, Paul, stop being in the past. It's a metaphysical impossibility for me to be in the past. I can be in the present thinking about the past. I can be in the present thinking about the future, but I am always forever in the present. I am always and forever in the present. Say it. I am always. Yes. And when you notice you're not, when you notice you're making it up that you're not, did you hear that? That you're making it up that you're not, here's what you got to do. Press the right button. So do this with me right now. Notice 5 things you can see. Whoops. Notice 5 things you can touch. Whoops, 4 things you can touch. 3 things you can hear. 2 things you can smell. And 1 thing you can taste. Did you feel a shift? Did you feel a shift as you grounded yourself in the present? Yes? Hello? This is the interactive part, okay? Yes. Whenever I find myself awfulizing, this is my go-to. We don't need a whole bunch of techniques and practices. We just need a little handful. And that'll get us through the rough parts of this crazy life. So, believe it or not, I learned this. You can only control the controllables by a 20-year-old person as they were fixing my Verizon phone. I'm sitting there and he's working on the phone. And he's working on my phone. And he's working on my phone. And there is nothing that could steal this man's peace. So I said, you know what, young man? That was amazing. He goes, what, sir? I said, you were having so much trouble with the phone and you did not get disturbed. And he said, well, sir, my coach taught me you can only control the controllables. And I couldn't do anything except control myself at that moment. Wow. Have you ever noticed when you get upset, you're not as effective? Yeah, yeah, right? So this is also about increasing our effectiveness in the present moment. Because if we are in chaos, we bring more chaos to what's happening. However, if chaos comes to us and we are grounded and centered and know that we can only control the controllables, it comes to our peace. That's the goal. How about this? You're only responsible for the things you can control. How many times have you been with someone who wants to make you responsible for things you can't control? Yep. Remember this. It's a good question. Is this something I can control? Have healthy boundaries. Oops. I love this definition. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. When I lose my boundary, I stop loving me. And we slip into that unhealthy void. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. If we can remember that definition when we're in a situation, we can remember it's about loving ourselves and the other. Take responsibility for your actions and not the outcomes. We can't take responsibility for the outcomes. However, there's a caveat to this one. Even so, balancing intention and impact is important. Have you ever been in a situation and someone's upset with you and you go, well, I didn't intend that? At that moment, we're dishonoring that person. We need to honor that person's response and support them rather than to go into this, well, it wasn't me. Well, I didn't cause that person to have that impact, but aren't we here to be compassionate with the other? Yeah. Aren't we here to make that balance? And when we do, we're more peaceful. Okay. This is the red elephant in the living room, right? Because we live in this crazy society that teaches us to be stressed for some reason. Not helpful. But stress is about control. Did you ever think about that? We're back to control. So, I always like to teach this about the fight or flight response. It's really fight, flight, freeze, or please. There's 4 of them. Mm-hmm. So, you see in that picture, when we talked about the amygdala, we talked of it as if there's one. There's actually 2 of them. And when most people talk about them, or at least the experience I've had, they make the amygdala our enemy. That doesn't do much good for peace, does it? So the amygdala regulates our bodies, helps us regulate our emotions in a direction to support us when it senses we're not safe and we don't matter. Ouch. When I learned this, I did a quick review of my 40 or 50 lovers, and really, maybe 10. And I realized everyone I left because I didn't matter anymore. I didn't feel like I mattered anymore. And you know what it's like when you meet somebody first time. You're mattering to each other at like a full 120%. But as the relationship moves on, it's important that we nurture that. So this question, there are actually two questions that somehow the amygdala is figuring out. Am I safe and do I matter? Am I safe and do I matter? And friends, this is what's being triggered in response to what's happening in the world today around us, in the world of politics. People don't feel safe, and they don't think they matter. Very sad. And especially us gay folks, when we've worked so hard to matter and to feel safe. So what can we do about it, though? So this whole fight-flight thing is part of the parasympathetic. Where are we going here, Paul? The autonomic nervous system. The sympathetic part is about the fight, flight, or freeze. And what happens, the amygdala causes this cascade of chemicals which increases epinephrine and cortisol, which is really setting us up to fight and protect ourselves when there's nothing to fight and nothing to protect. And that damages our bodies. But there's two sides of this puppy. And fortunately, the way we evolved, the way we were created, whatever you believe, it's pretty amazing. We have a part of this, a nervous system, that'll set us up for fight, flight, freeze, or please, but there's something we can do to counteract it and end up in that hammock. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure I get this right. So when we activate that part of our nervous system, we give ourselves a dose. I love that, dose. We get a hit of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. They're the happy chemicals in our body. And so when we can produce those easily in the moment, we can be at peace. Because when we're under stress, we are certainly not at peace. So, here we go. 3 ways to do that. Are you ready? So do this. Just gently brush your lips. It doesn't take long, but just notice how you settle down. This is also why kissing is so good. When we kiss, we produce all of those hormones. And so what's really cool about them, it can be a little surreptitious, you know, you can just, soon as you notice you're starting to go into stress, just do that. Which, by the way, it could be helpful for you to notice where it is in your body you first notice stress. Mine's here. And as soon as I notice something going on there, I know I'm going down that stress pathway. This helps reestablish peace within my body. And then there's calm and connect breathing. Sometimes it's called 4-7-8 breathing. You breathe in to the count of 4. You hold to the count of 7, and you exhale to the count of 8. Rinse and repeat until you notice you calm down. I have a very good friend in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I was visiting her. In fact, I'll be visiting her next month. And oh my God, she had herself in such a wad of. And we were driving somewhere, and I said, Mara, pull over. She goes, no, I got to get there. I said, Mara, trust me, pull over. And I guided her through this for about 2 minutes. And after that 2 minutes, she went, what just happened? I said, you just took control of your own body. You can do that. And so, see, it just isn't wishing for peace. It isn't just knowing that there's a principle of peace. There are certain things that we can do that includes our bodies. This isn't just a head game. It's a thought, feeling, body game. And we need the tools. If you don't have the tools, you're just going to spiral until eventually you come out of it, hopefully. So, are you divine or not? Yeah. Are you human or not? Yes. Do you have power over your thoughts and feelings and your own body? Yes. Yes. And isn't that great news? You are powerful beyond measure. Each of us has underestimated ourselves. What if you put yourself on your own pedestal? And that'll take care of a lot of that child stuff you were talking about, David. But family stuff. Yeah. You know what? It's like, tag, you're it. I'm just providing information. You must take the information and use it and act on it. And you have those cards, pick one and do it. Because the thing is, the bottom line is you can only do something that you can bring to mind at the moment. You can know all these spiritual teachings, but in the moment of stress, if you can't bring one to mind, you might as well not know them. That's why this has been called practical, usually practical Christianity. I dropped that now. But this is practical metaphysics, not just a head game. And so I am the peace I want to see. Together? I am the peace I want to see. And that's piece by piece and piece by piece. I see you. I know you have this. I know you can do it. And I affirm that you will.